Hey, let's try this again. A little glitch there. Welcome back to Afford Law. Afford Law practices family law and criminal law in Massachusetts. Our whole reason for being is we want to make ourselves affordable for the working man or woman, people who can't typically afford to hire an attorney at the going rate, but they make too much money because they're working to qualify for legal aid or for a court-appointed attorney on the criminal side. So today, we're going to talk about restraining orders in Massachusetts. What is a restraining order? You will hear restraining orders also referred to as 209A orders. 209A is simply the statute, the chapter of the statute under which the court is given that power. So a 209A or a restraining order comes about typically in this fashion. A person goes before the court on what they call an ex parte hearing. Ex parte just means one party. So you don't get notice of that necessarily. That person goes before the court. They fill out an affidavit, which is a written statement. They go before the court, and typically the judge will take a live testimony from them. So that means they're under oath and speaking to the judge. If the judge is convinced that you pose a harm or a threat of harm to that person, they will issue an order. So the person comes in and says that I'm afraid of you because you have assaulted me in the past, or you've threatened to do so and you have a violent temper or something along those lines. Typically, a judge will issue that order, and it's on an ex parte basis, as I said. So that means an order will issue, but it's a temporary order. So a full hearing has to be had. So you will be given notice of that hearing. They will send you a notice in the mail typically. You will probably get served with that temporary order by the police in the city or town where you live. So the second part of the restraining order is that you go in for the full hearing. And once again, that person has to come in to testify that they are in fear of their safety from you. You have the right to put on evidence, to testify, to give your own version of what happened, if anything, and to make any defenses that you might have. If the judge is convinced that you are indeed a threat to that other person, a restraining order or a 209A order will issue. Part of that order typically is to certainly stay away from the person, stay away from their address. They may list their home address and their work address. If they think that you don't know what their home or work address is, that will be impounded. That means they won't include that in the paperwork of the court, because if you don't know where they are, they don't want you to know where they are. So they are protecting the plaintiff. That's the person who's applying for the order. So if the order goes into place, now that's a civil situation, that's a civil procedure. If, however, you violate that order, or you're alleged to have violated that order, that becomes a criminal matter. So typically what happens is you're instructed that you have to stay away from that person and have no contact with them, stay away from certain locations. If you have children together, the judge may order a temporary custody to be had with the plaintiff. If the plaintiff is claiming that you are also a threat to the children, an order will enter on their behalf as well. So you can't contact or be with your children if that order, in fact, enters. So when they say you are to have no contact with the other person, that's exactly what it means. Absolutely no contact. You can't show up at their work or at their house or whatever in person. You can't call them. You can't have indirect contact with them either, non-in-person contact. So that means you can't email them. You cannot text them. You can't communicate with them on any social media platforms. You can't direct message them. You can't leave messages for them on their Facebook or Instagram pages. You can't contact them in any way whatsoever. And you also cannot have third-party contact with that person. Third-party contact is basically if you were to tell a friend to tell them something. So if you want somebody to relay a message to them, that is not allowed. That is a violation as well.